The Epe real estate market has been attractive for real estate investors who want to invest in Lagos, particularly people who want to use land banking as a strategy, right, for investment. But you see, over time, a lot of things have happened. There have been lands that have been opened up in different locations within Epe. The government has been attracted to this market because of all the noise, that has happened in this market. And if you look carefully, you will see that a lot of things are beginning to happen. First of all, the Lekki-Epe corridor just before Epe was opened up, and the government gave out allocations to real estate companies who could afford it at the time, right? And you could see land selling for as much as 25 million naira, 30 million naira within that corridor. Now, a few things or some things are already happening within the Epe market, for those who are observant. And that's part of what I want to talk about in this video. In this video, I'm going to give you an outlook to what to expect, in the Epe real estate market in 2024 and maybe beyond. But now I'm going to start with two facts. First of all, the first fact is this: the Lagos State government is beginning to speak to real estate developers, and they are, about to enact a policy, that would stop real estate developers from selling lands that do not have titles, right? That's the first thing. The second fact is this: the Lagos State government has also started allocating lands to real estate developers within Epe town. Now remember, the first set of allocation was, along the Lekki-Epe corridor just before Epe. Now they've started allocating lands within, Epe town itself. Now, how is that going to affect the Epe real estate market? And that's what we are going to be talking about. First of all, what would happen is this: cheap lands will gradually phase out. In fact, it's already phased out, or phasing out rather, of Epe. You would notice that if you want to buy land within Epe right now, you should be thinking of 4 million, 5 million, 7 million or more, right? Now, so cheap lands will begin to phase out, and this is because cheap lands usually are lands that do not have title yet. So because of the stage at which the land is, there is no title. Most of them probably do not have, registered surveys yet. What happens is that you can buy those lands, and then when you go ahead and, register title on that land, the land becomes more valuable and automatically just becomes expensive, right? So that's the first thing that is going to happen. The second thing that would happen is that real estate developers will begin to actively work on, land titles for the lands that they've acquired over the years. So there are developers who have bought 2 locations, 3 locations, 4, 5, 10, 20. Developers would have to start working on their titles. Why? Because with the way the government is moving, what it would mean is that you have to protect, these investments. Hopefully, your land doesn't fall in a location where the government, is giving out, for allocation. So that's the second thing that will happen. Now, when this happens, what would happen is that some real estate developers will begin to reach out to investors, like individual investors like you, who have bought lands within their estate. So you are either going to be asked now to pay up your development levies, because part of these development levies is going to be used to, register title for the land, which also helps protect your investment. For those of you who have not paid up your documentation fees and and all that, you'll be getting messages, mails and all that from developers right now saying, hey, you need to pay up. Some developers will even say, what, this is the cost of processing title for this property, right? And this is how much, this is the cost implication to you, which, if you look at it, depending on how much you bought the land at the time you bought the land, it still just might be a good approach. So part of the cost to register that title will be shared amongst investors. But again, like I said, it depends on how much you had bought the land. So what would that mean? That would mean that most individual investors will now either say, hey, I can't pay these fees, I want a refund. I can't pay these fees, I want to sell. Personally, I wouldn't advise you to ask for a refund. If you are in that situation, I would advise you to sell, because the idea is this: let's say you have 2 plots of land and you sell, right? You can make profits and then the person who buys from you can go ahead and deal with, the title. Of course, they should know that that's what they are going to be dealing with. Anyway, like any way you do it, it's still going to be profitable for you and the person who's going to buy it from you. But this is it. The people who are going to benefit from this are people who bought lands in bulk when it was a lot cheaper. So 6 plots, 10 plots, 12 plots, right? What you could do at this time, even if you cannot take out money right now to pay all these fees, is you can say, you know what, I've got 6 plots, I'm going to sell 3 or I'm going to sell 2, and I'm going to take the money from these 2 or 3 and I'm going to use that to pay these other fees for the remaining plots. So that way, you still have plots of land in Epe and you have, lands that have title, or you are going to have lands that have title, which also increases the value of your land. And that's the good thing about having lands in multiple locations. So imagine you had bought land in different locations and you bought different quantities, right? This is the point where you would say, okay, you know what, I'm not going to take out money from my pocket to pursue this title. I'm going to just sell a few and I'm going to use that, to pay these fees. Now, these are my observations, right? And some of them are my predictions, right? Now, another thing that we expect to happen, which is already happening, is that lands will become more expensive. Now, this is because the supply would reduce while demand, stays same, or demand remains steady. Now, the thing is this: already, even without the government doing anything, there's already a decline in supply. I mean, people are looking for lands in Epe and they're going towards the outskirts, Ijebu and the rest of them, right? So, even with what the government is doing now, there will be decline in supply because people will not even be able to sell lands that do not have titles yet, right? So, only those who can buy from the government will be selling. Now, what that would mean is that because, supply is down, demand stays, the prices would, come up. So we're looking at 7 million, 7.5 million, 10 million naira, 12 million naira. 7 million, 7.5, is already happening, right? But we have 10 million, 12 million naira, and you might not even be getting 600 square meter plots. You might be getting 500 square meter plots thereabout. But the thing is, if these lands come with government allocation that can be verified, then yes, it's still a good deal. Even though you are buying, you are coming to the market late, maybe, it's still a good deal, right? What would happen to that land in 1 year? The value of that land in 1 year, right? You just might do 40-50% in 1 year, right? In 2 years, you might do more than 100% in 2 years. I'm talking about maybe 200% in 2 years, right? So that is still a good deal. But because lands within Epe are more expensive, or will become more expensive, and people are looking for cheaper lands to buy, and because developers, cannot sell you lands that do not have titles yet in Lagos State, what would happen is that those outskirts of Epe, those border, the border between Epe and Ogun State, Ijebu and the rest of them, will begin to boom. It's already happening, but you will see more real estate developers going towards that area because they will be able to get lands, right? It's easier to get your title in Ogun State. It's going to be cheaper for you, the investor, to buy, the lands. So these lands will come up, right? So these locations, would be more attractive, so to say, to investors. But that also has an effect because the more the demand increases, what happens is that the price also continues to go up because land is in finite supply. They don't make more of it, right? So what would happen is that the prices of those places too will also continue to go up. So give it another 1 year thereabout, right? Who knows? The prices in those areas might also go up to the point where some persons might not even be able to afford them. Now, even when you decide to buy land within that axis, that outskirts of Epe, that border between Epe and Ogun State or Ogun State itself, you need to be careful too because there are embargoes and what do we call it now? Acquisitions that the Ogun State government has made that prevents people from just buying land anyhow. You need to be careful to ensure that you are not buying a committed land. But if you can afford to buy land within Epe, if you can afford to buy land within Lagos State, Epe, then you should go ahead and do it. We are talking in neighborhoods of 10 million. But you can rest assured that besides your development levies, surveys, and some of those things like that, give or take, by the time you're done paying for a plot of land that sells for, say, 10 million, by the time you pay everything, you won't be spending more than, say, 15 million naira thereabout. But then think of what the value of the land will be when the title is finalized and the development is done. That's what you should be thinking of if you're going to be using land banking as a strategy. But if you cannot afford that, then you should look towards, those outskirts. You should look towards, those neighboring towns. You should look. It's just like we have, at Ojudubega in Lagos State, we have Mowe, Ofada, Arikpo, and the rest of them. The value of land in Ojudubega actually, affects the value of land in those areas, because most people who even live there, work in Lagos State. You practically would not know the difference, because almost everybody who lives there works in Lagos State. So guys, these are my predictions, these are my observations, this is my outlook, 2024 outlook for the Epe real estate market. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section and I'm going to answer them. I've been Olisa. I'll see you on the next one.